Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Scottish Games Network podcast. Well, I say welcome back, it's actually the first episode, so we thought we'd introduce ourselves to start with. I'm Ryan, you might know me from the YouTube channel, but I'll get more into myself later.
Okay, I'll go next. Morning, folks, I'm Brian. I'm the founder and director of the Scottish Games Network. I'm the one who's been bugging the games industry for the last 16 years on various topics like tell me when your games come out. Let me know more about your company. What the hell sort of qualifications does your university/college actually produce? So very much the Grandpa Simpson of the industry when it comes to being, old man shakes fist at cloud, tell me more about what you're doing and just generally give me stuff. So as you can tell, I'm now part of a growing team with Ryan and Andrew here who are helping push us, kicking and screaming, obviously, into the 21st century.
Yeah, well, I'm Andrew and I am part of that growing team. I don't know about my 21st century credentials, but I'm spending a lot of time writing and interviewing people and basically just trying to promote people and their games as much as possible. There's so much, increasingly I'm finding there's so much good stuff out there that you just don't hear about. So yeah, my main aim is to make sure that we all know what's going on. And
that's the thing, isn't it?
This wonderful stuff.
There's a ton of good stuff out there. There's so many clever, creatively and technically talented people producing amazing things that if we weren't doing this, nobody would ever hear about.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about the Scottish games industry. We always have a wee joke about it, how like no one wants to talk about their games, they just want to make them, and it's a little bit frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, we can be a little bit bloody Scottish sometimes. Anyway,
just a wee bit.
We're here to fix that. We're here to make some big changes, and we're here to illuminate and showcase the issues of the week. So, guys, what have we got coming up this week? What has happened in the last 7 days that has particularly interested you?
Oh, I mean, we definitely need to talk about GameStop, right? That's
a given.
Yeah, that's definitely going to have to happen. Well, the YouTube channel launched, which was insane. Like, I've been frantically checking YouTube Studio on my phone like every 5 minutes. I'm like, what if something's happened? Like, what if people are hating the videos now and like telling me they're all awful? And I'm just like always on edge about it. But it's been really good. I've really been enjoying what we're doing for it. I do feel like I've just neglected my writing duties this week because I've been so worried about the channel. But that'll get back to normal next week. Fingers crossed.
Andrew, you launched an entire YouTube channel. I've been threatening to do that for 5 years, and in your third week with the team, you did it. So that's okay. And the subscriptions are going crazy. It's been great.
They're doing really well. We cracked 50 yesterday, which is great. I was expecting. I set myself at the start of the week. I was like, I'm gonna be lofty with my ambitions and say by the end of the first week, 50. That's what I want. And yeah, we did it yesterday, which is mad. Like, so good. So
and just wait until this hits the airwaves.
Well,
it should be fighting off hordes of admirers.
That's
virtually.
It. Like, we're gonna be #1 on trending and millions of subscribers, and we're all gonna be rich and be able to retire to gold-plated yachts, as you said.
Okay. Do we have to turn into alt-right hate figures?
I don't think so.
I'm not
part of it, right?
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
Nah, I think we're all good.
I think that's part of the podcast contract that you sign. You have to sell mattresses and you have to have a side channel doing some nasty alright business as well.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll maybe take that under advisement. We'll wait to the first millions of subscribers tune in before we actually do that. Okay, well listen, let's recap, because it's been a busy week. We've had some amazing titles coming out, and it's been a really sort of active week on the website and across all the social channels. So let's zoom back and just give people a sense of what's been going on this week. So Ryan, you kick off. What was the first release this week?
So I think the first release was Solace 128, which Andrew here covered over on the website.
That's right, it was Andrew. You see, okay, it's our first show, folks. Give us a break. Sorry, Andrew, it was yours, wasn't it? Okay, so tell us about Solace.
That's quite all right, yeah. Well, that was on Monday. It's a strange thing, a game releasing on Monday. I hadn't come across that so often, but this Monday we were lucky enough to get Solace 128, which is a terrific, very unique kind of puzzle game from an Edinburgh-based developer called Amicable Animal. Mouthful there.
The wonderful Tom Meck.
And yeah, who I've seen kicking around online. If you're in the kind of Scottish games community, you will see him. He's constantly promoting other people's games. Actually, seems to be the thing that he likes to do, which is you know, a wonderful personality trait to have. He's always kind of like asking people what's new just now, what should I try, and then he like put a little post on about it or something. But let's promote his game here. So as I said, it's a puzzle game. You're kind of bending these streams of light that are traveling through various rooms. Each room is kind of a puzzle in of itself, but also all of these rooms are connected together. And there's maybe some kind of mystery going on about what this puzzle is and why you're doing what you're doing. But I won't say any more because I don't know anymore yet. But I have started Solast, and hopefully I'll find out a little bit more about that. But I spoke to Tom as well, and he told me a little bit about the inspirations behind the game and things like that. And we'll have that interview going up sometime in the near future, I think.
Yeah, you know, a synthwave infused puzzle game which uses one of the simplest mechanics and a really old mechanic going all the way back to the days of the home computer revolution, where you're bouncing rays of light off mirrors, but it does it in such a cool, minimalist, contemporary way, and it's really brought together a fantastic small team. So Tom and Jamesy, who did the soundtrack, met back at one of the game jams a few years ago, and I've done a few little things. So this is their first commercial release, published through Armour Games, and you can find it out now for PC and Switch, and we highly recommend that you do.
Yeah, and the Switch version is the one that I played, and I can say that definitely works perfectly on Switch. Sounds great, looks great. Go for it. You're
just rubbing it in because I don't have a Switch yet. I need to remedy
it's currently
that
all
at
I
some
have.
point. But yeah, well, I'm not.
My journey to a Switch was a long and tiresome one. I decided I couldn't justify just buying it out of my paycheck, and before this I worked at a bar. So over Christmas, every time I came home, I would just empty the change in my pockets that was my tips into a banky. And then it was after we moved in August, I was like, I've got some money lying around, and I counted it out and I bought a second-hand Switch with it.
I'm just taking a moment to think about bars.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Weren't they great?
They were. I'd die for a pint right now. I mean, maybe not right now. We're recording at 9:45 in the morning. That's a bit early. But yeah.
But it is Friday. It is Friday. Well, and obviously the thing is, since you guys joined the team at the tail end of 2019, we haven't actually met in real life yet. So at some point there will have to be an official Scottish Games Network night out.
Oh yeah.
Christmas 2023, so you know, we'll just have to hold on to that. We'll have to hold on to that. So, Solus 128 out now, PC and Switch. Buy it, you'll love it, we promise. Moving swiftly on, we had another big release this week. Ryan, I believe this was yours.
Yes, it was. This was Monstrum 2, the much anticipated sequel to the cult horror game Monstrum, released by Team Junkfish, based in Dundee, I believe. They released the first one came out in about 2015. It saw quite a bit of success around like YouTube Let's Play channels, especially like Markiplier. I think would be the sort of biggest name that played it. It's got a massive following. They've got their own wiki up, and it really helped when I was researching, especially for the first episode of Chatting, when I spoke about it, finding out like the ship's name and stuff. I was like, I'm just gonna go on their wiki, it's a really nice community. And this game, it kind of takes what the last game was, which was kind of roguelike, randomly generated like horror, where you're trying to escape a ship that's got 3 monsters roaming around it, and they've kind of implemented that sort of Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th the game sort of thing, where instead of the monster being controlled by AI or like the CPU, it's controlled by another player, and it's you and 3 other players trying to work together to escape. And I think that's like gonna be really cool for like this year specifically, or if it came out last year, it would have worked then too. The idea of like co-op games, or like just games that you can jump on and play with your mates, have become incredibly popular. Like, if you think of the two big games that I can think of last year that weren't expected to be big, that just came out of nowhere, were Fall Guys and Among Us. These two games, like, no one was talking about them, then all of a sudden everyone was playing them, and it was just because you could jump on and just play with your mates. And I feel like this is the horror equivalent. And it come out. I think it's come out at a better time than Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th did, because everyone's at home, so they're not going to socialise any other way.
Well, this is it. Games. It's funny looking at the proper media, the big grown-up media, where they're still caught in this whole fantasy world that games are for kids and that gamers are 18 to 35-year-old males in their bedroom, isolated and locked away. And the idea that such a thing as esports exists, or that games can have a positive impact on your mental well-being. Andrew, last week, we'll come to this in a sec, but you wrote a fantastic piece about the BBC documentary looking specifically at mental health in gaming. And I'm with you, Ryan. I think Monstrum did a fantastic job. It established a really clever premise within the horror genre, because one of the big things is you can't do jump scares if you're expecting it. So having the procedural generation, having the different monster types, gave you a replayability that's all too rare. And then adding in the sort of the co-op / competitive gaming element, so it's an asymmetric, procedurally generated survival horror game. And just that sounds so cool on its own.
Yeah.
And it also happens to be, incredibly well designed, totally atmospheric, and shit your pants scary.
Yeah, no, I look forward to losing hours and possibly days off my life by the fear I'm going to feel in that game. It should be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I played the first Monstrum on the channel last week, and editing that was interesting, because I had to learn how to beep out myself like I was Gordon Ramsay, because I was like, I don't think that I can swear on the SGN channel. I better go and edit that.
I think the occasional slip, and I apologise to any parents who were listening, is fine, but we will have to do an after hours one at some point where we can get more Scottish, I think.
Yes.
Last week I started watching, I think it was on Netflix, there's a documentary called The History of Swearing, and it's Nicolas Cage.
I've saw that, yeah.
Nick Cage, he's fantastic in it. And it takes you through the etymology and everything, but it's American, and it's just all a bit sort of, bless, they think they're good at swearing.
They're a bit tame.
Yeah,
it's
bless
like
you.
From Disney core, and it's like they mentioned that certain curse words can be used, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and so on and so forth, and I'm like, mate, go to Glasgow. Your microphone is going to melt. I have seen some friends from overseas, utterly perplexed by conversations in Scottish pubs, because the curse words are the majority of the sentence.
It's a comma. It's just a verbal comma. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, it can be a tick,
syntax,
it can be a mannerism, it can be a pause. Anyway, sorry, that's sidelining us. So, Monstrum 2, which, let's not forget, won the UK Game of the Show for Gamescom this year. So, that's it, officially the best game in the UK for the last year. Sorry, Fall Guys, sorry everything else, but Monstrum 2 pretty much has the trophy to show for it. And that's out now on early access on Steam. And we are going to be talking to the team behind Monstrum 2 at some point soon. I just need to track down Paul Leishman, put him in a headlock and demand that he come on the show. So watch this space. Moving swiftly on. Next up, what did we have? We had, the Queer Games Library. Now, this was one of mine. We had an amazing conversation through the week with a group of students in Glasgow who got in touch proactively. Hey, we didn't have to
First
go chase
time
it.
everything.
Wow.
I know. So a group of students in Glasgow have started something called Queer Me, which is an archive or library of games which have anything sort of to do with LGBTQ plus or queer perspectives. And they're really trying to gather and create a focal point which will allow players all over the world to really find games which reflect their own particular perspectives, beliefs, experiences, and that kind of thing. And it's something that's there have been a few attempts at this in the past, but this is a really encouraging sign, and the fact that it's coming out from a team of students in Glasgow, I think is fantastic, because inclusion, diversity, equality in the game sector is still a big issue. You know, there are corners of the gaming world which are appalling. You know, you guys weren't here when we had the whole Gamergate issue going on, but I had 3 years of hell. You know, I got death threats for saying that we are a welcoming and inclusive place. And some of the harassment and bullying experienced by, you know, people across the sector for the crime of being unrepentantly female. It was just hideous. So, all in favour of more diversity, all in favour of inclusion. The Scottish Games Network was the first Scottish signatory of the whole Raise the Game pledge, hashtag Raise the Game, from Yuki, I think, as far as I'm aware anyway. And it's an issue that we take very seriously. So, delighted that it's there, and we will be supporting them and writing about them and pointing them towards any games that they don't yet have. So, yeah, fair play to Emily and the team who put it together, and we're looking forward to, you know, potentially talking to them at some point in the near future as well.
Their website is beautiful.
Yeah.
The art is just stunning. I really love it. So at least go and look at the website.
It's great. And you can find all of the stories that we're talking about on the Scottish Games Network, www.scottishgames.net, and just browse through the past week. Which brings us bang up to date with today. And we have just published our very first new weekly column called Games Gurus. And it was the admirable Andrew who put it together. So Andrew, what's Games Gurus all about?
Yeah, so Games Gurus is basically, we in the industry, there's things constantly happening. There's constantly issues. This week is a prime example of issues that in the industry that can just come out of nowhere, just blindside you. And, you know, we all love giving our own opinions on Twitter, but the reality is that there's people in, you know, really knowledgeable people in this industry who they don't really tend to grandstand on social media and give their opinions out, when really those are the people that we should be interested in listening to. So the idea with this column is to kind of gather together those people and get a sort of, I don't know, maybe more authoritative sort of opinion on whatever the issue is at hand. So for this first edition, something that's been kind of playing on my mind for a while now is about the kind of subscription services as a kind of business model for basically for distributing games. So we know we've had Netflix and we've had Spotify that have completely kind of changed music and television and things like that, and we're starting to see the streaming side and subscription side come into the game space. I think it's been a kind of a play of waiting for the technology to get to the right kind of place and waiting for people to get used to that kind of transaction. But the last year, I feel like I've just, every time I listen to a podcast, anytime I've been online, I see people talking about Games Pass and PlayStation Now and stuff like that. So clearly these services are becoming more popular. And as good a deal as they are for consumers, I always wonder when I hear someone say, oh yeah, I'll check that game out when it comes out on Games Pass, 6 months from now. Is that, if lots and lots of people have that mentality, is that hurting the developers, the publishers of that game? Does that mean that they're less likely to get funded for future projects if they're not making that initial bump of money? Or are they reaching a wider audience because of the subscription services? And obviously, I can speculate forever, but the best thing to do is ask people who have maybe an insider's knowledge, right?
People actually making the games. And this is, you have to
Absolutely.
appreciate how hard this is for me, because I have quite strong opinions about this, and about streaming services in the music and film sectors. It's another business model. Deal with it. It's not. We've had these arguments before. Pre-owned games killing the games industry. Home taping is killing music. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. I'm really not. It's a fantastic piece. We pulled in people from across the whole of the Scottish games sector. So we've got Doug Hare from Outplay, Mark Lloyd from Devolver Digital, Elena Hogue from Yaldi Games, Danny Parker from Ninja Kiwi, Kristen Rivers from Adine Mo, Derek McNaught from Duality, a whole bunch of people giving their opinions, giving their insight as game creators, from the smallest startups and indie games with Elena all the way through to the UK's biggest mobile game studio at Outplay. So well worth checking out. You can find it. It's been published on the Scottish Games Network website today, and I've done my best to tag everybody into it when it's spread across social media. Try and avoid it, I dare you. So
it's a fascinating range of opinions as well, right?
Totally. But that's the thing, and at some point we'll do this live and we'll see if we can get them all to fight. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the big story, the unexpected story that we've not covered on the website, but one that it would be wrong of us not to touch on is of course GameStop.
Yeah, it's a big one. It really is. It's
considering that on Monday, nobody in the UK had, practically even heard of GameStop, and it's now become one of the trending stories of the week. So, does anyone want to attempt a summary?
I can give a dummy's guide, and you guys are definitely going to be more knowledgeable than I am.
So glad you said that.
Okay.
So
I've been
you
up
guys,
since 6 reading about it.
Okay, you guys could definitely give more in-depth detail, but essentially what's happened is GameStop has been going hasn't been looking like they're doing too well over the past 12 months, because obviously people can't go in to buy physical copies, people can't trade in their copies, and they can't sell pre-owned games.
Important to say, GameStop is a US games retailer.
Oh yeah.
But it's physical, it's stores in malls, okay?
Right, yes. Yeah. So they haven't been looking like they're doing too great. And so the guys at the hedge funds have decided that what they were going to do is borrow stocks. So they were going to take stocks and then they're going to sell them to people while they're quite high, while they're as high as they're going to be, and then wait for those stocks to drop off, buy them back from the people they sold them to, and then give them back to GameStop and make a profit. That's the idea.
Yeah, and this is like a standard process, right? Like that's
it's called stock.
Carried, yeah.
You're shorting stock. You're borrowing stock. You're selling it, and then you at some point you have to give that stock back. And so normally what happens is, sorry Ryan,
I'm no, go for it.
So what happened is hedge funds look for companies where they can short the stock and get it really cheap, sell it at a higher price, and then they can give the stock back and they keep the difference, and it's how they make money. Unfortunately, what happened was a whole bunch of people on Reddit decided they would all get together and they would buy and buy and buy and push the stock price up and up and up. And so if you've shorted stock based on a company failing and their stock going down, and the stock goes up massively, you then have to return the stock, and you might have to pay a huge amount more, which is exactly what's been happening all week. And it's been driven by the media, it's been driven by Elon Musk tweeting GameStonk, which drove things even higher. So GameStop stock has been up and down and up and up and up and up and down and up across the whole course of the week, and hedge funds have been doubling down and sort of going, actually, no you don't, we're going to short even more. So at one point there was more shorted stock than stock existed, which seems like a stupid thing to do. But this is apparently how finance works. I'm glad I work in the games industry and don't actually have to understand anything about money.
Yeah, What Culture made a really good video over on their YouTube channel where they kind of explained it in the most basic way, and this is the only reason I understand what's going on, is because they made a video about it and they dumbed it down for me, and they mentioned how you don't want to read into it any more than that. because then once you do, you realize that money isn't actually worth anything, and you know, like, the world doesn't work the way we think it does, and that's just going to make your head explode, so please stop, you know.
Absolutely. It's always fun when you can see an internet community like Reddit, rather more so than 4chan or 8chan or any of those cesspits, messing with the system, because lol games.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a good long-term thing for humanity, but I don't see many people sorry for the the hedge funds.
I think a lot of people see that sort of, the shorting business model, or like, the sort of shorting sort of idea of trading stock as quite a sort of like vulture kind of move, because what you're doing is you're waiting for a company to do badly, and then you profit off of people potentially losing their jobs, and people like not having the money to pay like their mortgage or support their kids, or and I think that's where the sort of like almost vigilante justice aspect of this Reddit thing comes in, where like I think that adds in another layer to the story, where they were motivated by the idea of these rich guys want to get even richer off of other people's misery.
Well, that's capitalism, isn't it?
I mean, yeah.
And also,
I think it's more than that, right? Sorry.
No.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that there are also catalysts in it, are they not, as well? In the shorting is not only coming in when the misery is there, it's also exacerbating the misery, right? They're only making the situation worse while they're profiting off it.
This is true.
So, yeah.
It's become in the sort of the American mindset. It's a bit Robin Hood, and indeed the app they were using to do a lot of the trading was called Robin Hood, which is now suspended trading, and it's all just a bit.
There's talks of new legislation coming in to stop shorting from even being a thing, to stop this from potentially happening again, and it's...
Well, let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
By the time we do this again next week, we could see lines of crucifixes going down Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington or Wall Street, with hedge fund managers being nailed up. We'll just have to wait and see. Or it could be that Reddit is banned from the internet. It's an interesting place to be.
It's going to go all Mad Max. You heard it here first.
I've been playing Rage 2 on the Xbox, so I'm well prepared.
Oh, you're ready. You've been prepping yourself for this. You knew it was coming. You didn't tell any of us.
Absolutely. All I need is a jet-powered car, and it's like some, intense automatic weaponry, and we're there. As it is, I have a healthy collection of kitchen knives, so I guess that'll have to do to start. It'll get me, into the game, but I'll have to level up to some projectile weapons at some point soon. Anyway, that's us for the news component of the show, guys. So, what have we got to look forward to? Every week when we close out the show, we're going to highlight one game that's made in Scotland and give a very quick summary. And this week, Ryan, you've been talking to some very interesting people. Yeah,
so I've been speaking to Jock Finlay from Haiku Interactive about his game Dwerg Saga. Now, essentially, if you like Dwarf Fortress, you're gonna like this. That's the broad statement, but it's. Okay. Oh, we all good?
For anyone who's not come across Dwarf Fortress, what are we talking?
Right, so I think Jock, in an upcoming project for the channel, described the game as Sims meets Minecraft. Essentially, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go right from the moment you start up the game, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it from there, because I feel like that's the best way to tell you exactly how cool it is. The first thing the game asks you to do is close the game and open a personality quiz.
Okay.
That is I was baffled by this, and right, the short version of the quiz is 120 questions. So don't worry if you want
opening to a game.
Yes. So if you don't worry if you want to watch the video on YouTube, you don't have to sit and watch me read 120 questions and go through it. I cut that bit out. Don't worry about it. But it'll give you a personality score. Like, it gives you these sort of like 5 cornerstones of personality, and then it assigns a number to you, and then you reopen the game, and you tell the game what those numbers were on sliders, and this generates your clan. It generates so dwarves are like dwarves. They like to live in caves or in the sides of hills, and they like mining and resource gathering. And you control a clan. You're the clan leader. And depending on your personality, determines the personalities of each individual dwarf. Now this isn't.
Wow.
This is still sort of in early development. It's still being worked on. But essentially, when the game's finished, this means that when your dwarves interact with other people from the world or even each other, their personality affects what happens, and so their group dynamic is always going to be different. So every time you start a new clan, you're going to have a totally different experience of how everything interacts. So let's say, I think Jock give the example of, let's say one of your dwarg are has the meek personality trait.
Mm-hmm.
If they ask, could you get out of the way, they're going to say it in a meek way, and maybe the other person isn't going to listen. That's quite interesting. But then you've also got this whole just deep world building, base building mentality as well. You're gonna dig a hole in the ground or hollow out a hill and make your dwarg live there, and you can you'll be able to make a nice base for them, and then take them on adventures, and their losses become your losses, and their victories become your victories as you become more sort of attached to them as you play more. It's really interesting and really exciting, and can you tell that I'm looking forward
fascinating.
to it?
Yeah, so you're going to be able to find out more about the game, find out more about Jock himself next week on the SGN editorial and YouTube channels, yeah?
Yes. It'll be out on Wednesday. It's all edited, ready to go. Wednesday at 3 o'clock, it should be live.
We will be looking forward to this. We will be looking forward to this quite a lot. The other thing that you're going to be finding out about next week is the Playaway Festival. Now, this is a brand new event from our friends at the Tinderbox Collective, who are better known for musical performances, musical events. Now, it's going to be virtual, obviously, but this is actually opening up more opportunities for them, because they're looking at getting speakers involved from all over the world. And Playaway is going to be looking at games within a different context. So games within music and musical performances, games within theatre, games within healthcare, education, a lot of different areas. So what we would call serious and applied gaming. You may even see your humble editor taking part as the chair of one of the panels. But we're going to be talking about the festival. We'll be partnering with them. We'll be sharing the programme, and hopefully we'll be pulling in a lot of the speakers, a lot of the panellists and guests to take part in the new SGN TV channel. So that's all good, and you'll find out more about that on the site next week. Andrew, what's coming up on the YouTube channel next week?
In terms of the YouTube channel, we've got a couple of collabs coming up. First of all, we're going to be speaking to Skelp, the esports association within Scotland. And we're also, I mentioned earlier, Jock Finlay from Haiku Interactive. We're speaking to him about Dwerg. And then, of course, you can always expect on Fridays the SGN podcast.
Marvellous. So, lots to look forward to.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I'm really excited about... I'm just excited to get chatting off the ground, if I'm honest. It's definitely the show that I want to do more than anything else. It's so... I think the best thing about gaming is talking about it, other than obviously playing video games. But talking to other people and sharing your experiences and sharing your opinion is great, and it's so much fun. And being able to provide a space like that, just to start a conversation and see how it goes, is I'm buzzing about it. Excellent.
That's what I like to hear. Buzzing is good, unless you're trying to steal honey from, some angry bees. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our first show.
So that's it from the Scottish Games Network podcast, week 1. As always, we've been your hosts. I've been Ryan.
I've been Brian.
And I've been Andrew.
And we'll see you next week.
Take care, folks.